It's 7:30, so I will call to order the Board of Trustees meeting for April 20th, 2021. This meeting is held via electronic attendance pursuant to the Illinois Open Meetings Act and the ongoing declaration of emergencies by Governor Pritzker. May I have a roll call, please?
Trustee Chamberlain, Trustee Clayton,
Here.
Trustee Goldstein,
I'm here.
Trustee Haber,
Here.
Trustee Hollander,
Here.
Trustee Jamerson,
Here.
President Norris.
Here. We have a quorum. As we are all remote, we will dispense with the Pledge of Allegiance. First order of business is approval of the Board of Trustees meeting minutes from April 6, 2021. Do I have a motion for approval?
Second.
Are there any additions or corrections, modifications? Hearing none, may I have a roll call for approval of minutes of the April 6, 2021 meeting?
Trustee Chamberlain, Trustee Clayton,
Aye. Did you hear me?
I hear you now. Thank you. Trustee Goldstein,
Aye.
Trustee Haber,
Aye.
Trustee Hollander,
Aye.
Trustee Jamerson.
Aye.
Thank you.
Minutes are approved. Thank you. Village ecologist is not here tonight. Treasurer's report, Trustee Clayton.
I sent out the March financials. I think and with a little cover memo explaining some of the results or commenting on some of the results. I think the other thing really we have noted is that our general fund cash has decreased about $131,000 year to date, $132,000. So that's something for us to keep an eye on. I think it's mostly time, but as we move forward during the year, it's a thing to revisit. And the second thing I wanted to talk, as we did at the last meeting, at the urging of Trustee Hollander, we're going to start posting the quarterly results with comments on the website, and we should be able to get those up relatively soon. And then third of all, with Pat's help, we scrubbed the waterfront projections, and we've concluded that there's really no rationale for rate increase unless there's some increases from Northbrook. Part of the reason why we thought we had a more negative projection was that there was some imbalance in the relationship between revenues and costs and the projections and different inflation rates. And we're pretty convinced now that we're in relatively good to stay well above our $1 billion target. So that's it, unless anybody has any questions.
Any questions for Trustee Clayton? All right, thanks, Mike. Engineers report.
No report.
That was an awful long wait for no report.
My mouse was far away. I apologize.
Don't you want to talk about our meeting with Congressman Snyder's office this afternoon, such as it was?
I certainly can. So a couple weeks back, Representative Schneider, along with all the representatives, sent out a call for projects for the Community Funding Assistance Program, I think it's called. It was pretty sparse on details or metrics for how you could put together a competitive project, and we didn't have a lot of time to put together an application. It wasn't terribly complicated, but we did put in for 50% of the anticipated potential cost for the Riverwoods Road water main that the board's familiar with, where we have at least one resident requesting that assistance with getting him Lake Michigan water. There's a pretty clear system benefit to doing that project. It's not a public right of way, and we really were guessing that we put in at a 50% funding level. Um,
I hear a thing over here.
Yeah, somebody's,
Tim
got
Buzzard, whoever Tim Buzzard is, it's coming from him. Or
no,
was.
he's,
He's now muted. He wasn't before.
well, he was, I think, but anyway,
Oh, he
it's
wasn't.
gone now, so.
Thank you, Tim. So we put in for funding $300,000 toward that Riverwoods Road water main. We met today with an aide, a staff member from Representative Schneider. It was a 10-minute meeting. He had many meetings with many communities, and we tried to make the point that the water main extensions for the village are, of course, something that we struggle with making the economics work due just to the geography of the properties. He was pretty realistic with us, I'd say. He started off by managing expectations. Each representative is allowed to submit 10 projects to the various committees, and then the committees can only choose 2 or 3 of those projects to fund. You can imagine that we certainly weren't the only community that put in an application. But he did at least commit that he'll respond to us within a couple of weeks of whether we at least made the grade for projects submitted by Representative Schneider.
I would say our only hope of being picked is that we emphasize that this would be truly shovel ready. That's one of the reasons why we put this one in, because this was the only thing that we thought we could get in that condition. And when you think about, for example, water mains, if you think about all the places that have lead in their water, et cetera, and less money than we do, we don't really have a whole lot going for us other than this would be truly shovel ready. Henry?
And maybe I'm questioning this more in the principle of it, but I thought I heard you say that you're requesting a 50% participation rate, which would mean that the village would be responsible for the other 50%. I was unaware that the board had approved any dollars towards a water main. Am I incorrect in that?
You are not. And given the timing, we didn't have the opportunity to bring it to the board. I certainly made a bit of an executive decision or a staff decision. I figured our chances were even smaller if we put in for 100% funding. And my thinking was if we did happen to get funded on this, we could go back to the homeowners with a reduced cost. It wouldn't be the full $600,000. But I was thinking we would still have wiggle room for the board to participate at the level the board wanted to participate.
We could recoup it from the homeowners, Henry, was the idea. But frankly, again, I don't think we're at great risk of being selected. So, all right, any other questions for the engineer? All right, then. Well, okay, should we also talk, we're talking about water, and that's Rick, you wanted to talk about the meeting with South River Woods. Because that was,
I'll be happy to talk about it. We had a meeting last Thursday. We had 31 or 32 people on the Zoom meeting, which was a little unwieldy, but it seemed to work out okay. Pat was there, Bruce Huvard was there, John and Chris were on the call. A lot of good information was put across from both sides. I'm not sure there were, and not all of those people were for water, so don't get the wrong impression there. But basically, we ended up telling them that if they want to form an SSA, they need to connect with their neighbors. I will be putting out, I recorded the call, which you probably should have told everybody before I started it, but I recorded the call. And I'm going to allow people to access that for 30 days in the cloud. And I'm also going to put out the map of the people that were on the call. It's just highlighted lots, not for or against, but so people can at least, if they want to talk to their neighbors. There were some places where there were contiguous people that may want to put together an SSA to do a water project. But we didn't make any promises of village participation, and the numbers are staggering. I mean, if water mains were to be put on the rest of the streets in Vernon Woods, it'd be about $3 million, a rough estimate by Pat. And if you divide it by the number of lots that are available, it would be about $47,000 a lot, which is probably well beyond most of the people's ability to fund it. So that's where we are right now. I think there's a lot more conversation and noodling of numbers that needs to be done before we can figure out where we go with that as a village. But it was a good meeting. So, and I got a lot of good comments from the participants. So
I would have to agree. I think it was very straightforward, very even-handed, and noted that South Riverwoods has the problem that they have very large lots, which means you've got a lot of linear footage in front of each house that you run for each hookup, and that makes it very expensive per house per hookup. And so, as Rick said, it works out to an average of about 47,000, even in an SSA stretched over, say, 20 years. That becomes very difficult. It's certainly not going to be what you get back on insurance, because you don't do that much better on your fire insurance. Whether it makes your house more saleable or not, we've tried to find out more evidence on that. We can't say it definitively, and I doubt if you're going to have people outright say, oh, I paid $47,000 more for that house because it had water. But that's something the residents will have to figure out at this point, because we just made, as Rick said, no promises about subsidizing it in any way. So
I think the what's going to end up, this is my just total guess, but I think what's going to end up happening is that somewhere in the future, the aquifer is going to be compromised, either somehow or another. It's going to dry up. It's going to get bad. There's our people who are already saying they have horrible water in South Riverwoods, and then those people are going to be forced to get on a water main at a price that's going to be probably double what we're talking about today. So I don't know what the answer is, but anyways, we had a good meeting. It was good to get the answers and questions out there, and we'll just see where it goes.
did anybody have any questions for the engineer or any of this? All right, thank you. Director of Community Services report.
Not much to report tonight. I think I got the fee schedule coming up, so I'll just leave it at that.
All right, any questions for Russ? ZBA did not meet Plan Commission.
We did not meet this month, so I have nothing to report, but Bruce may.
Nope, okay. Police report.
The police activity is in the packets. You may notice that activity is up this year compared to last year. Last year at this time, activity was way down compared to previous years due to the stay-at-home order with restrictions being lifted. Quite a bit, we're getting back to normal on our activity numbers. I recently applied, or a few months ago applied for a FEMA Public Assistance Program grant through the Illinois Emergency Management Agency, and for reimbursement of up to 75% of costs that were incurred due to the COVID-19 emergency. I submitted a total of $5,923 in expenses, and we were awarded 75% of that, $4,442. And that's all I have.
All right, any questions for the chief? All right, then, moving on, village attorney's report.
Everything I have is on the agenda.
Bruce, did you say you don't
I said everything I have is on the agenda. Can you hear me?
Okay, sorry, my fault. I had a speaker turned off because of Bruce and I having feedback.
Did everyone hear me? Everything I have is on the agenda, and everything that else I have that's not on the agenda, it's not worth bringing up.
Never stopped you before.
Well,
All right, then. Information items and comments from the president. You had forwarded with you in the final packet, the Lauterbach and Amann contract modification. The mayor-elect has been talking with Lauterbach and Amann, as well as Mr. Clayton, and looking for them to expand some of our services. As most of you know, Susie's announced her retirement as of June 1st. So they are looking to perhaps take a little more outside for some of the accounting work and put together a program that they're doing it, which this letter contract refers to. I think Mr. Clayton explained much of it. We received it too late to get it to you for the statutory notice to be able to have it be voted on tonight. But it would be a good time if there are questions from the current board that you would have about this. So yes, Rick.
Just one quick question. Does the annualized cost that's listed here, is that just salaries or is that all benefits of the current staff?
I just the salaries.
Okay, so there's benefits on top of that.
About a third.
Just to remind everyone, we originally went out to bid on this, had 3 responses from 6 DRA and LNA. And Lauterbach and Amann was by lowest cost with the most experience and the sense of capability. If anybody's interested in the original RFP and the Lauterbach and Amann original response, I can distribute that. I think at this point we started by just working to replace Bob Biakowski with a little bit of expanded service, and then that's going well. And so at this point, with Susie leaving and our utility bill services offline, we have the opportunity to not only replace it at a lower cost annually, but also to give us some additional backup and enhance our capability going forward. So I recommend that the board of this at the appropriate period of time.
Okay, there are other questions. Sorry, I was coughing this time, so I had another good excuse and then got forgetful. All right then, not seeing any questions.
Yes, you do.
Oh, I'm sorry, Mike, sorry.
I just was wondering, I know that you're basically backing out the accounting administrator's salary and the billing clerk position, but I'm wondering if those people do anything else that is going to have to be covered by another person, a future hire or something right now. And I'm not sure. I just wonder. Nope.
No. The answer is no. Oh,
Okay.
sorry.
Okay, any other questions? Okay, then, moving on, visitors wishing to address the board. Bruce, do we have any emails?
We do not.
All right, thank you. Next item of business is approval of bills. Do I have a motion for the approval of bills?
So moved.
Second.
Second, thank you. Are there any additions or corrections to be noted? You all received the amended, since we received one late, you received the amended this morning. Actually, I think Susie sent it out over the weekend, I hope, but in any event, then, if there are no questions, then may I have a roll call, please, on a motion to approve the bills?
Trustee Chamberlain, trustee Clayton,
Aye.
trustee Goldstein,
Aye.
trustee Haber,
Aye.
trustee Hollander,
Aye.
trustee Jamerson.
Aye.
Thank you.
Thank you. Moving on then to action items. The first item of business, memo A, at the last board meeting, the board disestablished the senior transport program. Trustee Hollander asked that we put on a proposal to reestablish it, but as a needs-based program. This would not be a motion to reconsider, but if somebody wanted to argue that it were, Trustee Clayton was voting with the majority and he's willing to bring it back. Either way, procedurally, it's correct to go ahead and hear it. So with that, let me turn it over to Trustee Hollander.
Yeah, after thinking about what we did, it bothered me some. And at a time that we have an opportunity to take care of the main objections of the program, which that it was not limited by income, and it was not on a needs basis, that I thought we might want to reconsider this for those individuals who met certain criteria. The county has at least 3 programs that they administer based on income. One is free ride transit. Second is an assessment freeze. And the third is a license plate reduction. All of them have limits on income. And I thought we might want to take another look at this and make this program available based on at least one of those programs. And I think that Bruce Hoovard recommended that we do this on a, on a tax assessment basis, where the limited income citizen assessment freeze, just for those of you who may not be familiar with it, I'm just reading it. You have to be 65 years or older. You have to have had occupied the home for the last 2 years, and an income of the household $65,000 or less.
So we do have already where we will rebate the gas tax and the sewer charge if you qualify. The county and or state qualifies the people for the program. So all we do is have to get the list. So there's virtually no overhead to us if we do want to reinstate transportation, but based upon that. It was $5 maximum for each trip and a limit of 3 trips per month, I believe is how it was being operated, whether you want to use those parameters or not. So I would need a motion if someone wants to make a motion.
I'll move to.
I have a question.
Let's have the motion and then we'll talk. So there's a motion to institute the transportation for seniors with an as needs basis. Because Mike, you're kind of garbled. Was that?
Yes, I'd reestablish the program on the same parameters on an as needed basis.
Okay, is there a second?
Second.
Okay, now there were questions. Was that Eric? Okay.
Yeah, maybe it was answered. I apologize. How exactly are we going to verify income?
We get a list from the county. So we don't actually do it. The county and the state verify the income.
We have 2 programs right now in the village already where we rely on the same mechanism. And I think what Henry was referring to is I suggested to him that we can piggyback and rely on the same mechanism for those other programs for this one as well. It's be the same. The county will, when we request Bill Svitek used to do this for a year, they would send him a list of people who met the qualification for the various programs.
So we don't have to do any of the legwork or whatever. The programs, the checking is already out there.
And how many people were using this program?
2.
2 people?
Yes. So to say it's not going to break the bank. It's like virtually no cost. The question is, do we want to do it on a needs basis or not? Are there any other questions? Yes, Mr. Haber.
I mean, I would just comment that, can you hear me?
Yes, yes.
I was just going to comment that if we are going to do it, I think that we should actually publicize it so that it's not like some kind of a thing that no one really knows about, but it's actually something that we're proud to have and is available for the community, and we should publicize it and let it be used. As opposed to just basically reinstating it for the couple of people who have been availing themselves of that.
Oh, well, I agree. I don't believe from what I know of those people, Mike, they would qualify under the new terms anyway, but certainly we should make it clear to people that it's available. Henry?
On a practical, I'm sorry, on a practical matter, since the income is limit is 65,000 a year for the household, it's unlikely, I can't do this, I can't give you this data, but my impression is that we will not have anybody that meets that qualification, probably. But we're going to be considering affordable housing in the future, and I just think it sends the wrong message to get rid of a program like that in general.
I don't have the new census data, but 10 years ago, the per capita income here was probably 2 to 3 times that number. So again, it's unlikely that we would have many people qualify.
But we do have people that qualify for the gas tax rebate.
Yes,
we
and the
can pay
assessment
that.
free.
So there are people that are in that situation. That
Yes.
very well could qualify and need the.
So it would be available for them, yes. So any further discussion, questions? Hearing none, then I would like to have a roll call on a motion to establish or reestablish the senior transportation program as a needs-based program for those who qualify for the assessment freeze. Does that sound correct, Henry?
Yes.
All right. So roll call, please.
Trustee Chamberlain, trustee Clayton, trustee Goldstein,
Aye.
trustee Haber,
Aye.
trustee Hollander,
Aye.
trustee Jamerson.
Aye.
With the permission of the board, I'd like to phrase that as a resolution, and if you can assign a resolution number to it, then we can have it in the record going forward.
Do we need a vote for that, or can I just give it
No,
a
no,
resolution
we'll
number?
just treat that motion as a
Without
resolution.
objection, we will treat that as being in the form of a resolution. Hearing no objection, then it'll be treated as a resolution. So Daphne, we need a resolution
Yes.
number.
That is resolution 210402.
All right, thank you all. Now for a little deja vu. An ordinance prohibiting the use of groundwater as a potable water supply by installation or use of potable water supply wells, or by any other method. Most of you know we've already passed this twice. It has to do with the no further remediation letter for the 37 acres. And apparently the state has never been happy with the language. We do have one slight change we want to make to the ordinance as it's written, because it appears that could give the impression we were banning all ground wells in river woods if you don't look at the exhibit. So we wanted to make sure that we limit the language so that people will know only as it appears in the exhibit. Bruce, do you have anything?
If you turn to page 32 of the packet, section 2 of the ordinance says that the use or attempt to use as potable water supply groundwater anywhere within the boundaries of the village is depicted in Exhibit A. And I think what our suggestion is anywhere within that portion of the village, within the boundaries of the village is depicted in Exhibit A, would make it doubly clear that it's only within the area depicted in Exhibit A.
So just make it a little clearer again that the exhibit should have made it, but other than that, that would be the only change that we would recommend. So I would ask for a motion to waive first reading.
I'll make a motion to waive first reading, but I do have a question when we get.
Okay.
Second.
Is there a second on the motion to waive first reading?
Second.
Okay. Now, what's your question, Rick?
In Exhibit A, is it just the non-crosshatched area or? It's the area, I mean, there's a part that's crosshatched and there's a part that's not, because the not part is not in the village right now, right?
Correct.
So we're really just voting on everything that's
Crosshatched, that's correct, because the county has a different ordinance for the part of the site that's in the county.
Okay, thank you.
Yeah, you can see the PIN numbers listed on Exhibit A and then the letters corresponding to the chart. All right, we need a roll call on the motion to waive first reading.
Trustee Chamberlain, trustee Clayton,
Aye.
trustee Goldstein, trustee Goldstein.
Aye. Did it
Thank
not
you.
work?
It did that time. Gotcha.
Trustee Haber,
Aye.
trustee Hollander,
Aye.
trustee Jamerson.
Aye.
Thank you.
Now we would like a motion for second reading and adoption of an ordinance prohibiting the use of groundwater as a potable water source by the installation or use of potable water supply wells or by any other method.
So moved.
Second.
All right. Any questions or discussions? Hearing none, then may I have a roll call, please, on the motion to approve the ordinance prohibiting the use of groundwater as a potable water supply by the installation or use of potable water supply wells or by any other method.
Trustee Chamberlain, trustee Clayton,
Aye.
trustee Goldstein,
Aye.
trustee Haber,
Aye.
trustee Hollander,
Aye.
trustee Jamerson.
Aye.
Thank you.
That is ordinance 210405.
All right, thank you. Moving on into old business, I would like ask for a motion for second reading adoption of an ordinance revising the Village of Riverwood's fee schedule.
So moved.
Need a second?
Second.
Thank you. The fee schedule has been attached. I think hopefully we've shown where the changes are by old and new and coloring. So I hope that's clear. Henry?
One of the items on the fee schedule I noticed this time, which I didn't see last time, has to do with deep wells. And if one uses a deep well, there's a $2,500 yearly assessment or fee. And one of the choices that we gave an individual who needed a new well supply was that they could go ahead and dig a deep well. And it seems to me if you're in a single family residence, $2,500 a year as a license just doesn't make sense. I think this is meant more for commercial use of a deep well. And therefore I'd like to consider the fee, the annual fee, not the permit, but the annual fee to be only for I guess the term would be non-individual resident or individual households.
Well, the
Maybe
annual,
only apply to commercial. I don't know how to phrase that, but
I
that's the
think that would be
concept.
more the wording with an annual fee for commercial properties, is I think what you're trying to capture.
Well, I wouldn't want it for multi-use housing either. In other words, if there's a place that has a small apartment building, I think that they should pay that higher fee as well. So I'm looking for a single family.
Okay, Rick, I think I saw your hand. Mike Haber, you look like you want to
Well,
say something in a minute.
I guess the
Go ahead.
question is how deep is a deep well? Because it doesn't really say. And we're used to pretty shallow wells here in Riverwood. So I'm not sure what, maybe Pat could enlighten us on that.
I asked that, so he has an answer for us. I had him prepped.
So this is a throwback to the village getting our Lake Michigan allocation way back when, and the notion at the time was that the deep aquifer, and by deep, it's 1,500 feet deep, that was being depleted by municipal use. So as a trade-off for your Lake Michigan allocation, you took steps to strongly discourage the use of deep wells. Things have evolved significantly since then. I don't think the same pressure is on the deep aquifer that was at the time in this region, at least. But I cannot think of a single instance when a residential use has proposed a deep well. The last time I can recall this being considered was Orphans of the Storm. Even though we have a Lake Michigan water main on their street. It is, I think if we want to revisit this, we probably need to look at, it's a whole section in the village code. And we probably need to run through that a bit and make sure that we're not creating a conflict someplace.
Maybe what we can do is just agree that here in this particular case, the annual fee would be for excluding single family uses. And that'll probably, the cost of a deep well is, the last time, I don't remember what Orphan's number was, but it was so high. That particular person we advised to dig deeper, I was thinking, 50 feet deep or something, but to dig a deep well, they might as well put the water main in, basically, I think, almost. So,
Yep.
but if we just say excluding single family uses, I think that would not create any problem for us in the future.
So
You want me to just add that then as a note right alongside that in parentheses?
Well, that's what I'd recommend.
if the
Okay,
board will agree without objection, then add the language.
okay.
Trying to avoid those roll calls. Mr. Clayton?
I had a question of the annexation fee for voluntary annexations, which is page 30 of 57, I think. Just $500 per acre, a portion thereof. So if I went to the antique barn and said, geez, we'd love to annex you. And by the way, you're going to pay us $1,500 in order for that to happen. What are costs in that regard, and why do we have that?
It's probably been in the code for 50 years. In the old days when, there were a lot of smaller annexations, this is probably how villages thought about compensating themselves for taking on the burdens of policing or doing something like that. Other than a nominal sum that's almost like an application fee, there's no particular benefit to the village. There's so many other economic terms that we will be negotiating with somebody, that the last few parcels that we're talking about, that so many more economic terms. This is almost a nominal sum that no one really even looks at. This isn't the factor that dissuades or persuades to come into the village. It's almost, I look at it as nothing more than part of a zoning application fee.
Other questions or comments? Hearing none, then we have a motion for second reading and adoption of the fee schedule as amended this evening. May I have a roll call, please?
John?
Yes.
John, just for the record, don't you, I mean, I made a motion, so I think I should approve the amendment, right?
Oh, okay. Well, I was asking if it was, we can either do that, and if you approve it and the second approves, then that works too. So, okay. But I was asking the whole board, which is without objection, so I'm only trying to streamline it a little bit.
Sorry.
Does the second agree? Yes, the second
I
agree, right?
said it. I'm not sure who. If I did, I agree.
Clayton did, and that's why I'm shaking my head at him saying yes. So yes, that is, we have it on two grounds now, so that as amended. So may I have a roll call, please?
Trustee Chamberlain, trustee Clayton,
Aye.
trustee Goldstein.
Aye.
Thank you. Trustee Haber,
Aye.
trustee Hollander,
Aye.
trustee Jamerson.
Aye.
Ordinance 210406.
Thank you. Then next item of business is second reading and adoption of an ordinance amending the text of the Riverwood zoning ordinance, adding and revising defined terms and provisions pertaining to single-family dwellings, households, community residents, and transitional residences. Do I have a motion for second reading and adoption?
So moved.
Second.
All right, then discussion. Yes, Henry.
Seems like I have something to say on everything tonight. I just wanted to point out that the Plan Commission spent almost 2 years on this subject. And having been an interested observer, they deserve some recognition that this was a difficult subject. And I think they did a really good job on figuring out how to bring this to the board. And particularly the memo that explains it in a very easy language for the rest of us to understand. It was really a Herculean effort over the 2-year period of time.
Yes, and considering they took the slings and arrows of outraged residents when the senior home came in, certainly we do owe them a gratitude, vote of gratitude for all of this. So are there any other comments or questions? Yes, Lori, you can't back out now.
No, I want to thank Henry for those comments, and also I'd like to thank Bruce for his incredible work in helping us.
All right then. Any other questions or comments? Then hearing none, may I have a roll call vote, please, on an ordinance amending the text of Riverwood zoning ordinance, adding and revising defined terms and provisions pertaining to single-family dwellings, households, community residences, and transitional residences.
Trustee Chamberlain, trustee Clayton.
Aye.
Trustee Goldstein,
Aye.
trustee Haber,
Aye.
trustee Hollander,
Aye.
trustee Jamerson.
Aye.
Ordinance 210407.
Thank you. I know of no reason to go into executive session. Does anyone have anything for the good of the order?
John, I do.
Yes.
It's come to my attention that this is the last full meeting that our president and mayor is going to preside over. And with that in mind, we have a couple things to go over, I think. And I'd like to first turn the floor over to our senior member and one with longest history, Michael Haber.
Well, just remember that I will be here for the beginning of the next
I said full meeting. I said full meeting.
So on behalf of this board and hopefully the community at large, we of course want to thank Norris for all of his years of dedicated service to the village of Riverwood, not only as a D when he was in that position, but also in his current position as president. And I think it's appropriate to just briefly talk about some of the accomplishments that he has been able to usher in during his tenure in whatever capacity he served with the village. I just kind of made a little bit of a list. I'm sure that it is not inclusive of everything, but it nonetheless, I think, shows what great leadership President Norris given to the village through his years. So here's just some right off the top of my head that I recall having served along with him during most of those years, I think all of those years actually. He extended the sewer system to South Riverwoods. He extended the water, and he placed fire hydrants in various locations, mostly in North Riverwoods, to address fire protection. He implemented SSAs for private road repairs. He oversaw the initial development of the southeast corner of Deerfield and Milwaukee Avenue. He secured an alternate water source from Northbrook, which resulted in a considerable cost savings to the village. He oversaw construction of the new village hall. He oversaw the creation of the village campus. He acquired public space across from the village, as well as a Herman wildflower farm on Deerfield and Portland. He developed outdoor space and an education center at Deerfield and Saunders. he implemented a cost share program to enhance the ecology of the village of Riverwoods and to protect the woodlands. He oversaw the passage of the Riverwoods Preservation Ordinance. And most of all, he leaves the village in very good fiscal order, notwithstanding all of the improvements that we've just talked about. So I'm very thankful for his leadership. I know that all of the board is right there with me and thanking him. And I'm sure that the entire community is right there as well. So with that, I think we're going to turn it over to Bruce.
Well, first, before we do that, Mike,
Oh, okay, I'm sorry.
compete with your
Turn it
list.
over to Mike.
Okay, it's hard to compete with your list, but there were other things that occurred to me as well. It was some external representation for the village at Swalco and other places. He also initiated administrative hearings and completely revised and improved our financial procedures and processes. Of course, don't judge someone solely on their accomplishments. I have found John to be friendly and open, a man of principle and a man of his word, someone with solid values, a dedication to doing what's best for the village in every respect. And so we have a small token of our appreciation. I would say, ahoy matey, anchors away.
Here.
I hope
Don't let the anchor hit you in the dinghy, John. That's all
Hey,
I-
watch that. I've always been said to be a little dingy anyway.
No, no
But
question.
my wife, who I see has managed to sneak onto this, has always said I'm a mic hog. And what can I say? But it's probably true. But this gives me a good opportunity to say a few more words. Oh, an inflatable surfboard. That will be very important down off of the beach. At least that way I won't be mistaken for a whale. So I'm probably safer.
or a shark.
But,
We actually have some additional gifts, so I'm hoping Bruce is those now.
thank you. There's more.
The surfboard does say seal on the bottom of it. So when the sharks go by,
Oh my goodness. A Waterman pin that I probably can't get out. Pen and pencil set. It's beautiful. Thank you.
Actually, it's a pen and fountain.
Ah, thank you very, very much. Thank
Wait,
you for all of the kind words, but
Wait.
oh my God, you got more? I want to hog the mic. There is more than one way to shut me up, and giving me presents is one of them.
it was a sale at Goodwill, John. Don't get too excited.
Oh my goodness. Thank you. It's a commemorative plaque and gavel, and I really appreciate it. I can't begin to. And Chris, you want one at least this big. For those of you that didn't know, when Chris first ordered her gavel, I think she was mistaken and went on the Amazon catalog for the Munchkins, because it came out and was about like this. So, okay, now can I say something? Okay. Mike and Mike, thank you both very much for your kind words, but I assure you, I couldn't have done it alone. Mike Haber, you're right. You and I have been doing this a long time together, and your time will be coming soon, I'm afraid. And then I don't know what the village will do. But I have to thank all of you and those who have been there before, certainly Trustee Chamberlain. I wish she were here this evening, but I'll say a few more words about her. And Eric, you have to show up at the next meeting too. You don't get off that easy. And my predecessors, both Bill Kaplan and Mayor Stanglin, certainly they both handed me a lot to work with. and I learned a lot from both of them. So rather than run this meeting any longer, I will simply again say thank you all. And again, you deserve this as much as I do. So thank you. And with that, I guess I would say that we still have to have a meeting in 2 weeks. I could call it off and stay forever, but Chris might get grumpy then. She's already got Mike answering the phone for her at home now. So she's already learned how to screen those calls. So I would like to hear a motion to adjourn.
So moved.
I think that is a move in a second. May I have a roll call on a motion to adjourn?
Trustee Chamberlain, trustee Clayton,
Aye.
trustee Goldstein,
Don't quit now.
trustee Goldstein,
I again.
Say
trustee
it loud enough we
Haber,
can hear you without the microphone.
Aye.
trustee Hollander,
Aye.
trustee Jamerson.
Aye.
Thank you.
Well, again, thank you, and we're adjourned this evening. See you in 2 weeks.